Yu-Gi-Oh! Mint.com is now TradingCardMint.com. Please check out their selection of over 20,000 cards with prices cheaper than TCG Player. What you guys just heard was exactly true. This video is brought to you by TradingCardMint.com. You guys will remember them formerly as Yu-Gi-Oh! Mint. They're going to have a rundown of Chaos singles available for you guys this week. Please check them out for your guys' trading card game needs. And rumor is, if you enter MCOL40 on or near checkout, you'll be able to save yourself a little bit of extra money over there. So definitely give them a checkout, a gander, a peek, and see if what you are looking for is going to be available. So they should already have the singles getting ready for you guys. If not, check back in the next couple of hours to a day and everything should be good to go. They usually have very good cheap prices available on singles before the hype train comes through and destroys everything. So initial values where things are at for a lot of you guys if you want good deals and things like that. So we're going to be, I know it's not Chaos Breaker, and I know it's not Messiah or Deleters. We'll be getting to those later in the week when we get our physical cards in the mail. A few of you guys were requesting me to discuss the Chronicle deck that I was playing during the Chaos Breaker matchup. A few of you were like, huh, that's an interesting theory. Well, the theory's from Japan. It was being played near the beginning of the format for Chronicle. And the theory is you want to set up both of your, I always call it Lugal, but that's not her name. Manish. God, I don't know why I always call it Lugal. It confuses people so fucking much. But if you have this here and then you set up appropriately, then your opponent cannot lock your front row. However, the stuff that involves being able to call on top of other units, because if you have 3 locked boosters, your opponent can start forcing you to lock over the things. Especially with Melepton, Counterblast 2 force you to call from hand. And then you pretty much have to start relying on your Vanguard swings. Now, someone else is also requesting a hybrid time leap build. Now, there are some theories built into the deck that I can definitely already tell you from the initial list that tries to make up for the lucks and things that you're going to be going through. It's very important. Things like Water to generate additional card advantage for the time leap. If your opponent leaves an unlocked zone, you can go into the jet fuel, I like to call them. The grade 1 goes into the soul, the Jeffrey clone to draw. There are a lot of things that you can do to get around the lock mechanic. Now, as you see, eventually you're going to get flooded out. You just have to keep applying pressure as you need to. Now, crits might be the more heavy way to go, but you have to also be aware of rogue, so you can't lose a lot of some of the things that you were doing. I also haven't got the chance to test Demiurge yet, so let's get into this and explain this. For Chronojet, no real explanations here, and then one-on-one. Your best case scenario, you'll get to your jet, you'll set up your jet on Vanguard, and then you'll pretty much start attempting to play the game from there. Also, your starter is Dron. Now, there was one build that was playing TikTok. I'm not in the mood to play TikTok. I ain't about that life. I'm more worried about time leaping into this. Also, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot call this behind the Vanguard. You have to shove it over in a corner because this is going to be one of the first things locked. You are playing Steam Sniper. You cannot allow this bitch to get fucking lost. Especially locking the zone behind the Vanguard is one of the most crucial, bad things that you can do. Don't do it. So understand that when you are writing up your chain, this cannot go back there because you need Steam Sniper to be able to do her thing. Now, the most important card in the deck right now, this. I understand that you can power her up. You don't use her for that. She continuously has resist. So your opponent's initial effects, well, I mean, eventually Chaos can just go eat through everything. But you are using her to protect the 2 front rows. As a swinger herself, you better pray you get boosters and things like that. And your opponent can start locking up. This deck doesn't have unlockers. So your pressure and the turns that you do to beat through the hand control that Chaos is generating, you have to use things like this. You honestly can't play the control game with the deck. Aggro might be your best scenario, but the issue with aggro is sometimes you'll have to wait until your Split Pegasus turn to set these up, because there's not a lot of turbo power with the deck. But that's definitely something to consider. 3 copies of Chronospin, just generic 10k base. Another initial setup card. 2 copies of this. Now that Chaos is running around, this card starts to kind of suck asshole, I'm not going to lie to you. I wish Pegasus was better, but in a scenario where your opponent can just lock your board and you're just like, cries every time, you know, it's not much you can do. 2 copies of Pulsar Cruiser Dragon, massive advantage generator and a lot of things like that. And then 2 copies of Delayed Blazer. Now, this is where things get a little bit more interesting, because on the turn you were doing this, you can call this out via Time Leap one of these into a 3, and then at the end of the turn you can casually just return this back to the field to be a defense generator. Also, same thing with other scenarios. If you have this on the front line, you can teleport it out of the way to set up more initial things. Definitely one of the more interesting plays. This card grants you the ability to just teleport and move things around. You also need to understand that this is not a ZTB, and I really wish it was, but there are like, what, 4 cards in the deck now that are not named ZTB? Yeah, 4. 2 of these, Sniper and Water. And you have to understand that this kind of can get you in place. So now, if your opponent doesn't lock up your back row when you have Sniper can Time Leap into this, and then, you know, you can kind of just delay back and forth. You can also have Sniper Time Leap into this, to Time Leap this into another unit. There are just some really weird things. Also, if you have double Sniper, or double of this in the front row, you can call this back in the spot that Sniper is behind the Vanguard, and then Time Leap one of these for 1 additional attack. Definitely something to consider, though. There's little cool movements and things like that that you can do with this now, to kind of avoid lock, but you have to literally set up the chick to make sure that things go good. 4 copies of this guy, aka go into the soul, draw a card, aka free up a circle for the next turn. You can also, the cool thing is, once you get this guy going, he'll go back into the deck for free, and you'll be able to draw 2 and recycle, but just additional, you know, this draw, and then you'll get this draw from sending it into the soul, plus the stand triggers back in the deck, so dodging those locks. 4 Arca, once again, and no repercussions to playing this. 4 of the Stride Fodder, nothing too special. And then Steam Sniper, which we talked about, just the infinite value that this card, in theory, should be granting to you as you are jumping around, trying to avoid the locks, with the Time Leap mechanics to get just a couple of additional attacks, ensuring that your deck can fundamentally do what your deck does. The deck is playing 7 crits. Once again, this is another one of those into the soul, perform X action, free up a circle, powering up our good friend over here, Resistor, to get the job done. Now, contrary to popular belief, there are 5 stands in here. On the pressure turns, if you have these early before your opponent starts locking your shit, being able to apply the extra damage, free up extra circles, especially in the early stages of the game, these are very pressure generating if you draw them, and that's why I like these so much, just because of what they do. Also, as I said, Water, just being able to Time Leap out other things is very crucial. And then 4 copies of the heal trigger. Whew! It's kind of like one of those, we did it. I'm still testing the idea from what the OCG was playing. I'll let you know more results when I get there. But so far, you have to get to the very, very, very important setups, and it really sucks to say that, because the deck should be performing better than it actually is. 2 copies of Split Pegasus, aka break up a 3, pull out 2 resistors, pretty good. 2 copies of the Phoenix, just your generic flutter on the first attack if you need it, if you don't need the Pegasus. But getting the Pegasus face up with the Global 2K is pretty good. 4 copies of Gear Next, aka flip the ugly one, because I don't want to spend more money on this deck. Typically, first stride, second stride, third stride, fourth stride, depending. I mean, at this point, you're pretty much a supernova star burning out of jet fuel. Like, there's only so much you can do with your infinite restanders. Also, you need to be more careful with these because you are playing the 4 offbeat cards. In the scenario that you're top decking and you have no cards in your hand, like you saw me, I strode into this over this. That was because of the 4 off. I don't want to get into a situation where my whole field's locked. I have nothing. I drive check 3. I drive check the offbeat. I'm in a bad scenario then. you know, I can't restand. I can't risk that. One copy of Sabri's, pretty self-explanatory. G-Guardians, one copy of this thing. This card's really starting to grow on me. I really like her. Double Uru just for deck regeneration to make sure we can stack an extra trigger so back into the deck not to lose. A one hetero round. I mean, do we really need more? And then one copy of Rafana. So Rafana, she has a very interesting purpose in this deck. Rafana allows us to return a unit back to our deck, call out our boy Water can time leap into the sniper. Your sniper is loaded for the rest of the game, essentially. The value that Rafana generates. I mean, if you've got a circle over here just chilling, time leap into something over here. Net yourself a free card. You know, there are a lot of things that you can do with the empty circles. This is your combo enabler, allowing you to climb the ladder with extra things. Rafana is a very good defensive card with Water, especially in the low numbers. Keep that in mind when you give this a shot. But this is honestly the best chance that I can say if you're planning on playing your Chronicle, if you're in Chaos format, that you're going to get just playing something very similar to this and testing things. So, what do you guys think about the theory? You know, please check out our friends over at YugiOhMint.com down below. They've always been here supporting us. Loda's been a wonderful member of the community for over 10 years, and he's really doing his best. You know, I was going to make the Venusaur reference there, but we can't do that. So, alright guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to ask some questions down below. I'd like to answer with what I'm currently learning from this deck. The original theory creator with this, definitely, he was on to something, and I like that. I know a lot of people say this game doesn't have innovation, but this is what I would consider on the level of innovation. So, alright guys, later.